boss had the most extraordinary brain in the entire city, a medically confirmed hyperthymustic syndrome patient, possessing complete autobiographical hypermemory. His memory was not comparable to ordinary people's fragmentary and fuzzy recollection. Every second of every day he had lived was clearly and completely stored in his brain, like a high-definition permanent video file, never fading, never missing, never wrong. He could accurately recount the ambient temperature, wind speed, and cloud shape of any ordinary Tuesday 20 years ago at the age of 8. He could recall the exact line of every book he had read once, the brand of a stranger's pen he had glimpsed casually, and the slight pause in a stranger's tone during a casual conversation. His brain was a precise, cold, flawless super database, recording all the trivial details in the world with absolute precision, without a single omission or a deviation. But such a man with a perfect memory had forgotten my birthday for 5 consecutive years. I was Ren, his legal wife, the woman who had walked hand in hand with him for 7 years of marriage, who had taken care of his daily life, tolerated his obsessive-compulsive memory quirks, and accompanied him through every ordinary day of trivial firewood, rice, oil, and salt. Every year, when my birthday passed quietly, I would tentatively mention it to him, trying to find a trace of tenderness or remembrance in his precise eyes. But every time, he would show the same blank and confused expression, his cold and handsome face devoid of any recollection, his tone casual and perfunctory, exactly like asking about an insignificant trivial matter. Is it almost here? Next week? I'll remember to prepare a gift. Every time I heard this sentence, my heart would sink a little bit silently. He always asked if my birthday was in the coming week, never remembering that my birthday had already passed quietly a few days prior, passing by silently in his busy and precise life, leaving no trace in his supermemory. I had always comforted myself, even joked and laughed with my best friend Sasha about this ridiculous contrast. At first, I thought, no matter how powerful and genius a person's brain is, there will always be occasional failures and blind spots. His brain is occupied by countless precise data and trivial memories, so it's normal to overlook a small birthday of his spouse. I excused his forgetfulness for 5 years, tolerated his indifference for 5 years, and naively believed that his lack of remembrance was just an accidental oversight of his genius memory, not a deliberate neglect of my existence. I thought that his problem was his memory, not his heart. It was not until that quiet, rainy afternoon that I completely shattered all my self-deception and saw the most cruel and truthful truth hidden under his perfect memory. It was a weekend. Elliot went out alone to handle academic work, and I stayed at home alone to tidy up his study, which he never allowed others to touch casually. His study was as neat and orderly as his memory, with every book classified strictly, every document arranged in chronological order, and every desktop icon placed in a fixed position, without a single chaos. I had always respected his habits and never touched his private files casually. On that day, a system pop-up window on his dormant computer accidentally lit up the dark screen, and I caught a glimpse of an unhidden folder on the desktop. The folder was named plainly and inconspicuously Health Record Form, with no extra notes or marks, ordinary enough to be ignored at a glance. Out of casual curiosity, I clicked open the folder, intending to check if it was his personal physical examination data, to help him sort out and back up the files. But the moment the folder opened, all the blood in my body seemed to freeze instantly, and the temperature of my whole body dropped to freezing point in an instant. This folder had nothing to do with his personal health. It was a meticulous, crazy, and precise personal record of another woman. The woman's name was Piper. I knew Piper well. She was Elliot's fixed fitness partner. They went to the private gym together every Wednesday evening for weightlifting training. He had always told me it was just a regular fitness partner relationship, pure and ordinary professional communication. I had always believed him, never questioned this so-called ordinary partnership, and even took the initiative to adjust his dinner time every Wednesday to adapt to his fitness schedule. But at this moment, looking at the dense, precise, and terrifying records on the screen, I finally realized how ridiculous and naive my trust was. This folder contained a total of 37 complete record documents, corresponding to 37 full months, without a single month interrupted, without a single day omitted. Every piece of data was accurate to the decimal point. Every physical condition was marked in detail. Every emotional change was recorded meticulously, far exceeding the care and memory a stranger should have. He recorded Piper's physiological cycle accurately to 0.1 days, with a clear average cycle data of 29.3 days, with no error in every cycle prediction for 37 months. He marked her dysmenorrhea level with eye-catching red stars, uniformly marked as level 3 pain, and attached detailed coping notes. Need to prepare warm water, painkillers, and hot water bags in advance. Avoid cold food and cold environment. He highlighted her ovulation period with the brightest red font in the whole document, and specially noted in bold black font next to it. Her mood is sensitive and irritable during this period. Speak cautiously. Avoid quarrels and cold words. Take the initiative to give in and comfort. Every subtle physical discomfort, every small emotional fluctuation, every slight living habit of Piper was completely captured and permanently recorded by his perfect memory, sorted into standardized documents, updated in real time every day. The latest record was updated 3 days ago, fresh and detailed, recording Piper's slight muscle soreness after weightlifting training and her preference for low-sugar electrolyte drinks recently, with precise adjustment suggestions. I sat quietly on the cold wooden floor of the study, the cold texture of the floor penetrating through the thin cloves, stimulating every nerve of mine, making me sober and calm to the extreme. I flipped through page after page of these 37 months of crazy and meticulous records. Every line of words was a sharp knife, cutting through all my years of self-deception and tenderness. 37 months, more than 3 full years. His super memory, which never made a single mistake, never missed any trivial detail of Piper's life, never forgot any of her preferences and taboos, and even took the initiative to predict her physical and emotional changes to accommodate her. But for me, his wife, who had been with him day and night for 7 years, he could forget my birthday for 5 consecutive years without any guilt or recollection. He could remember the decimal point of a stranger's physiological cycle, but could not remember the most basic annual date of his spouse's birthday. He could take the initiative to accommodate a stranger's sensitive emotions, speak cautiously and give in for her, but always treated my feelings casually and perfunctorily, even unable to remember my most important festival. In this moment, I thoroughly understood the truth that I had avoided for years. His super memory never failed, never had a single error or omission. The only thing that malfunctioned was my position in his heart. I was not forgotten by his memory, but excluded from his heart and his precious memory reserved from the beginning. All his precision, carefulness, tenderness, and memory were reserved for another woman. What was left for me was only eternal perfunctory, indifference, and deliberate forgetfulness. The funny thing is, I had been excusing him for years, thinking that his genius brain had occasional blind spots, but in fact, he just never put me in the category worthy of being remembered carefully. The whole afternoon, I sat quietly in the study, flipping through all the records calmly, without hysteria, without roaring collapse, without even a single tear falling from my eyes. Sorrow to the extreme is silence. Love to the end is despair. All my years of dedication, tolerance, and love were completely reduced to a ridiculous joke in the face of these 37 pages of cold records. I did not delete these files, did not leave any traces of my discovery, did not question Elliot when he came home, and did not have any quarrel or accusation. Because I knew that any explanation and argument at this moment was meaningless. A person who is willing to spend 37 months recording every trivial detail of a stranger's life with perfect precision, but is unwilling to remember his wife's birthday for 5 years, has long had a biased and distorted heart. His problem was never memory failure, but loving the wrong person, favoring the wrong person, and abandoning the person who loved him sincerely. I quietly closed the computer, tidied up the study to its original neat appearance, erased all my browsing traces, and returned to my usual calm and gentle appearance. No one noticed the thorough death of love in my heart. No one knew that the woman who had been tolerant and gentle for 7 years had completely woken up. I made a silent and firm decision in my heart. I would no longer struggle with his forgetfulness, no longer beg for his misplaced tenderness, no longer indulge in this one-sided wrong marriage. I would wait quietly for the next birthday that he was doomed to forget completely, and on that forgotten day, I would disappear from his perfect memory world forever and completely. Since he is used to forgetting me, then I will let me become his eternal, unforgettable regret. Chapter 2 Silent Layout. Thorough Cold Severance. In the following month, I maintained the most ordinary daily life, completely unchanged in the eyes of Elliot. I still get up on time every morning to prepare his favorite low-sugar breakfast, tidy up his clothes according to his obsessive-compulsive habits, remind him of his work schedule as usual, and maintain the gentle and considerate wife image that I have adhered to for 7 years. Elliot was completely unaware of the earth-shaking changes in my heart. His supermemory could capture every trivial detail of the world, but he could not perceive the thorough alienation and coldness of the person beside him, because he never really paid attention to me. His brain was full of precise data and trivial memories, and the only vacancy was my joys and sorrows, my dedication and grievance, my love and despair. He still went to the gym to train with Piper every Wednesday on time, and every time he came home, he would briefly mention a few words about fitness with a casual and natural tone, hiding the crazy, meticulous care in his heart. He still forgot all the small festivals between us, still asked me perfunctorily every time the date approached whether my birthday was coming soon, never remembering that he had missed it 5 times in a row. I listened to his perfunctory words every time, no longer felt sad or wronged, only felt extremely calm and even a little ridiculous. During this period, I quietly completed all the layout for leaving. I sorted out my personal property, sorted out all the assets that belonged to me before marriage and the personal income one had earned in 7 years of marriage, and confirmed that there was no economic entanglement with him. I consulted a professional divorce lawyer, sorted out all the evidence of his emotional betrayal, and confirmed that I could complete the divorce procedure quickly and cleanly, without any loss. The 37 pages of health records in his computer were the most ironclad and irrefutable evidence of his long-term spiritual betrayal and biased preference, with accurate time records and complete content, enough to make him lose all right to argue in the divorce trial. I did not intend to tear my face and make a big fuss, nor did I intend to discredit him publicly. I just wanted to leave cleanly and thoroughly, without dragging any trivial entanglements. I resigned from the trivial part-time job that I had taken to take care of the family for many years, sorted out my personal career plan, and contacted my former industry mentor, preparing to restart my suspended career. In the past 7 years of marriage, I've been taking family as the priority, romming myself to accommodate his work and habits, suspending my rising career, and being a gentle and virtuous wife wholeheartedly. Now I finally understand that the most wronged person in the world is never worth being tolerated and dedicated. A week before my birthday, Sasha found me anxiously, holding her mobile phone and showing me the latest social media update from Piper. Piper posted a photo of 2 people's fitness hand in hand with a delicate copy, fixed Wednesday appointment, stable and gentle company. The comment section was full of ambiguous speculation from netizens, and many people were teasing that the 2 were a perfect match, tacit and intimate. Sasha was indignant for me. Ren, look at them. This woman is obviously deliberately ambiguous with Elliot. She knows he's married. And Elliot, he's too much. He can forget your birthday, but remember her fitness schedule every week. I glanced at the photo lightly, without any emotional fluctuation, and just smiled faintly. It doesn't matter. Soon there will be no more entanglement. Sasha was stunned, feeling that I was completely different from the tolerant and sad woman in the past, but she didn't ask more, only sighed and chose to support all my decisions. In the last few days before my birthday, Elliot's performance was still the same as usual, cold and perfunctory. He was so busy sorting out various academic data and updating Piper's health records that he had no time to pay attention to the date change, let alone remember my upcoming birthday. On the day before my birthday, he came home late at night, reeking of faint sweat from fitness, and casually said to me while changing his clothes, "I'll go to the gym early tomorrow. Piper's physical condition is not very good recently. I need to adjust her training plan in advance." His tone was rare, serious and careful, full of deliberate caution and consideration. This was the meticulous tenderness that I had never enjoyed in 7 years of marriage. He could take the initiative to care about a stranger's physical condition and adjust the plan for her, but he could not take a moment to remember his wife's birthday. I looked at his back and nodded lightly. "Okay, go." No complaint, no question, no sadness. My heart had long been completely cold, and all the tenderness and obsession had been cleaned up thoroughly. The next day was my birthday, the 6th birthday he was destined to forget. The whole day, Elliot did not send a single blessing message, did not make a single phone call, did not come home early, and even had no fluctuation in his expression when he passed me. He spent the whole day in the gym and the laboratory, focusing all his energy on Piper's training plan and his academic research, completely ignoring the most important day of his wife's year. Late at night, when the whole city fell silent, I quietly packed all my personal belongings, only a small suitcase, carrying all my past and future. I neatly placed the signed and sealed divorce agreement on the coffee table in the living room, with a complete attachment of his 37 months of biased record evidence. I did not leave a long speech, did not write any sad words, only a short line of font on the title page of the agreement. Your perfect memory remembers the whole world, but you forget the one who loves you. From today on, I will no longer be your trivial forgotten detail. After finishing all this, I took my suitcase, closed the door of this cold and illusory marriage villa gently, and completely stepped out of Elliot's life. No noise, no entanglement, no nostalgia. I chose to disappear thoroughly on the day he forgot again, becoming the most unforgettable blank in his flawless memory. Chapter 3 Memory Collapse, Belated Panic and Regret. Elliot returned home at nearly midnight, exhausted after a full day of fitness guidance and academic work. As usual, he expected to come home to warm lights and prepared late-night snacks, expecting me to greet him gently and tidy up his tired clothes. But tonight, the whole villa was dark and cold, without a trace of warmth. The living room was empty, the dining table was clean, and the usual trivial warmth that had accompanied him for 7 years disappeared completely. He frowned slightly, his precise brain instantly capturing all the abnormal details in the room, and his super memory quickly compared the daily layout of the villa, finding that all my personal supplies in the living room and bedroom had disappeared. His heart jumped for no reason, and a trace of inexplicable unease surged up. He walked quickly to the living room coffee table, and when he saw the divorce agreement placed in the center, his cold and calm expression finally cracked completely. He picked up the agreement with trembling fingers, scanned the neat signature at the bottom, and then saw the attached 37 pages of health record screenshots. In an instant, his perfect super memory collapsed completely. His brain, which had never made a single mistake, fell into a blank and chaotic state for the first time in his life. Countless precise data and trivial memories were disorderly impacted, making his head ache violently. He finally knew that I had discovered his hidden secret, discovered his 3 years of crazy and meticulous preference for Piper, discovered his long-term indifference and forgetfulness to me. He finally realized what day it was today. The precise day data that had been buried in the corner of his memory rushed out instantly. Today is Ren's birthday. The 6th birthday he had forgotten. But this time, the price of forgetfulness was no longer my silent grievance and tolerance, but my thorough departure and the complete collapse of 7 years of marriage. He stood stiffly in the empty living room, holding the thin agreement, and for the first time in his life, he felt the panic of losing control of everything. His super memory could recall every leaf in the yard 20 years ago, every word Piper had said, every data change of her physical condition, but he had completely missed all my sadness and disappointment in 7 years. He could remember the decimal point of a stranger's cycle, but he could not remember his wife's birthday. The most ridiculous thing is that he had always thought that I would stay by his side forever, tolerant of his indifference, accustomed to his forgetfulness, and would never leave. He took my dedication for granted, my tenderness as dispensable, and my company as eternal, so he was unscrupulously biased and indifferent. It was not until I completely left that he suddenly woke up. He had lost the only person in the world who loved him unconditionally, tolerated his weird memory personality, and accompanied him through trivial, ordinary days. All his carefulness and tenderness were wrongly given to a dispensable outsider, while the most precious sincerity was abandoned by him casually. He frantically took out his mobile phone, dialed my phone number repeatedly, but all he got was a cold and mechanical shutdown prompt. I had long blacklisted all his contact information, completely cutting off all possibilities of contact. He opened all social software, found that I had canceled all bound accounts, cleared all past dynamics, and completely erased all traces of my existence in his life. The villa that had been quiet and warm for 7 years suddenly became empty and cold, and every corner was echoing with his own breathing and heartbeat. His supermemory began to replay all the trivial details of 7 years of marriage involuntarily. He recalled that every time he forgot his birthday, I would comfort myself and smile. Every time he focused on updating Piper's records late at night, I would quietly bring him warm milk. Every time he went to fitness with Piper on Wednesday, I would prepare his sports clothes and water in advance. He recalled all my tolerance, my gentleness, my silent dedication, my undisclosed grievance, and my gradual alienation. Every memory fragment was extremely clear and vivid, magnified infinitely by his supermemory, and fiercely pierced his heart. The precise data that he had been proud of for years became the sharpest blade to torture himself. He clearly remembered every trivial detail of how he favored Piper and ignored me, and every frame was a proof of his ruthlessness and bias. Pain and regret swept his whole body overwhelmingly, making this genius who had always been calm and rational fall into complete collapse. He finally understood the most stupid truth in his life. Memory can remember everything, but it can't make up for the wrong choice of the heart. He remembered the whole world, but lost the only person who was worth remembering. Chapter 4, Third-Party Illusion Collapse. Vanity Love Shattered. After I left, Elliot fell into endless regret and self-torture, but his obsession and inertia made him want to find sustenance from Piper, thinking that the careful preference he had insisted on for 3 years was real love. He naively thought that even if he lost me, he still had Piper's gentle company, and the delicate relationship he had carefully maintained for 3 years could make up for the loss of marriage. But he soon completely shattered this illusory cognition. After the news of Elliot's marital breakdown spread, Piper took the initiative to find him, no longer maintaining the gentle, pure, and sensible persona in the past. She directly proposed to Elliot that she hoped to make their relationship public officially, and asked Elliot to compensate her for 3 years of silent company, requiring him to give her a formal identity and substantial material rewards. Facing Elliot's depressed and regretful appearance, she was not moved at all, only dissatisfied with his delayed public relationship, complaining that she had wasted 3 years of youth in secret ambiguity. It was only then that Elliot woke up completely. All her gentleness, sensibility, and tacit understanding over the years were all deliberate performances and fake personas. She clearly knew that Elliot was married, but she took the initiative to approach, deliberately maintain ambiguous intimacy, take advantage of Elliot's biased memory and obsessive-compulsive personality to indulge his careful recording and preference, and enjoy his exclusive tenderness and care for 3 years. She knew clearly that Elliot would remember all her preferences and physical details, so she deliberately created various subtle needs to induce his continuous investment and obsession. All the delicate records that Elliot was proud of, all the careful tenderness he had paid, were just tools for her to satisfy her vanity and obtain material and emotional value. When Elliot lost his stable marriage and perfect husband identity and fell into depression and regret, she no longer bothered to pretend and directly exposed her greedy and selfish nature. She was never sensitive, delicate, and well-behaved. All her emotional and physical characteristics recorded in the 37 pages of files were her deliberate guidance and pretense. Elliot's supermemory accurately recorded every fake detail she created and stubbornly maintained a 3-year obsessive preference for a false persona. The woman he had devoted all his misplaced tenderness to is just a vain and scheming outsider. The marriage he abandoned and the sincerity he missed were the only real and warm feelings in his life. The blow completely crushed Elliot's last illusory sustenance. He broke off all contact with Piper completely and blocked all her contact information without hesitation. The 3-year obsessive preference and meticulous records became the biggest joke in his life. He deleted all 37 pages of health record files that he had updated carefully for 3 years, but he could not delete the clear and painful memories in his brain. His supermemory would repeatedly replay every fake detail of Piper and every sincere dedication of mine, torturing him day and night, making him suffer from endless regret and self-blame. Piper, who lost Elliot's care and resource support, completely lost her glamorous capital. Her ambiguous emotional history was exposed, her persona collapsed, and she was spurned by the fitness circle and social circle, completely falling into silence. All her vanity gains for 3 years vanished in an instant, and she paid the price for her deliberate scheming and emotional greed. Chapter 5, Desperate Cross-City Chasing Wife Crematorium, Humble Feudal Atonement. After completely losing everything, Elliot had only one thought in his mind: to find me, apologize to me sincerely, and atone for his sins, hoping to retrieve the sincerity he had abandoned. For the first time in his life, this arrogant genius with perfect memory put down all his pride and dignity and started a long and humble journey of chasing his wife. He used all his connections and resources to find my new residence and new workplace and learned that I had restarted my suspended career and achieved rapid breakthroughs in the industry. I moved to a new city far away, cut off all past social circles related to him, and lived a free and independent new life. Every early morning, he would wait silently downstairs at my workplace, holding the birthday gift that he had missed for 6 consecutive years, standing in the wind and rain, waiting for my appearance. Every late night, he would stay downstairs at my apartment building, quietly watching the light of my window, not daring to disturb, only silently accompanying me. He sent countless apology messages and lengthy repentance emails every day, carefully recalling every trivial detail of my preferences in 7 years with his precise memory, listing all his mistakes one by one, and promising to change everything. He who once forgot my birthday repeatedly now remembered all my preferences, taboos, and small habits clearly, remembered every festival between us, and even remembered the trivial details I had casually mentioned in 7 years. But all his memories and repentance were late and meaningless. I never replied to any of his messages, never looked at any of his gifts, never stopped for his humble waiting. Once after work, he mustered up all his courage to stop me, his tall and straight figure decadent and haggard, his eyes red with endless regret, his voice hoarse and humble to the extreme, completely without the cold and arrogant demeanor of the past. Madame, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong, thoroughly wrong. My memory remembers everyone and everything, but I missed the most important you. I remembered Piper's every breath, but forgot your whole life. I delete all her records. I cut off all contact with her. I have no more bias and perfunctory. Can you give me a chance to start over? I will remember every birthday of yours in the future. I will remember all your preferences. I will use my whole life's memory to remember only you alone. Don't leave me, okay? His tone was flustered and desperate, his eyes full of begging and unease, and his whole person was trapped in the abyss of regret. I stopped and looked at him calmly, without any anger or grievance in my eyes, only thorough indifference and alienation. I looked at this man who once held a perfect memory, but deliberately forgot me, and said softly but firmly, Elliot, your problem is never that you can't remember. Your problem is that you didn't want to remember me. You spent 37 months memorizing a stranger's trivial physical details, but you were unwilling to spend 10 seconds remembering your wife's birthday. This is not a memory error. This is a choice of your heart. You are not atoning for your mistakes now. You are just regretting losing the unconditional sincerity and company I gave you. But it's too late. When you carefully marked other people's sensitive emotions and learned to accommodate others, you forgot that your wife was also sensitive and needed to be cherished. Your perfect memory is very powerful, but it can't erase the 5 years of forgotten birthdays and 3 years of misplaced preference. I used to wait for your memory to wake up, but now I don't wait anymore. I don't need your belated remembrance and atonement. I paused, looked at his desperate face, and said the most ruthless and thorough sentence. You remember the whole world, but you are no longer qualified to remember me. After saying that, I turned around and left without looking back, stepping straight into the bright sunshine, completely leaving him standing alone in the shadow of regret and despair. He froze in place completely, his whole body trembling, tears sliding down his cold cheeks uncontrollably. His super memory clearly recorded every word I said, every indifferent expression, every back view of leaving, which would become the eternal pain in his memory that could never be erased. This is his deserved chasing wife crematorium, irreversible and irreparable. Chapter 6, Female Awakening and Self-Blooming, Transcending Misplaced Love. After completely breaking away from the wrong marriage and biased love, I ushered in the most brilliant and free stage of my life. Without the trivial family burdens and emotional fetters, I devoted all my energy to my career. Relying on my accumulated experience and professional ability over the years, I quickly made outstanding achievements in the industry. I won industry core awards, was promoted to senior management in a short time, had independent economic ability and superior social status, and lived a refined, free, and independent life. I picked up my abandoned hobbies, traveled freely, made new friends, and no longer centered my life on any man or relationship. My life is no longer full of trivial dedication and silent tolerance, but full of self-growth and brilliant possibilities. I no longer care about anyone's preference and remembrance, no longer wrong myself to accommodate others, no longer pin my happiness on others' hearts. I finally understand that the most secure happiness in the world is never others' tenderness and remembrance, but self-independence and self-blooming. A woman's awakening never needs vigorous shouting and struggle, but a thorough coldness and severance after seeing through the truth. I once loved deeply and tolerated foolishly, but after waking up, I was decisive and free, never looking back. During this period, Elliot never stopped his humble pursuit and repentance. He gave up all his social activities and work distractions, stayed in my new city all year round, waited for me silently, remembered all my preferences meticulously, and tried every means to take care of my life. He remembered every festival of mine, prepared exquisite gifts in advance, arranged all trivial matters properly, and used his perfect memory to take care of my life in every detail. But the more meticulous he is, the more regretful he is, the more indifferent and distant I am. He could only watch me walk higher and higher, live more and more brilliantly, and completely get rid of the shadow of the past wrong marriage, while he was trapped in the endless quagmire of self-blame and regret forever. His super memory tortured him every day, letting him clearly remember his own betrayal and bias, clearly perceive his own stupidity and loss. He finally understood the eternal truth. The most precious sincerity in the world is never obtained by memory, but by heartfelt cherishing. He had the best memory in the world, but he lost the person who was most worthy of his cherishing. Epilogue memory is no match for sincerity. Many people ask me if I have ever regretted leaving decisively, if I have ever been moved by Elliot's belated repentance and careful atonement. My answer has always been no. Love is never a makeup exam. There is no late atonement in the world, only timely cherishing. A person who is willing to spend 3 years memorizing a stranger's trivial details, but forgets his spouse's important festivals for 5 years has long had a distorted heart. His perfect memory is just a cold tool. The heart that does not know how to cherish can never accommodate sincere love. I used to yearn for his tenderness and remembrance, but now I know that I don't need anyone's memory to prove my worth. I can remember my own preferences, celebrate my own festivals, and warm my own life. The most brilliant light in a woman's life never comes from a man's preference and remembrance, but from self-reliance, self-improvement, and self-blooming. Elliot will spend his whole life remembering his mistakes and regretting his loss, trapped in the endless torture of his perfect memory. And I have long walked out of the wrong relationship, embraced a free and brilliant life, and lived up to myself, not love. The best ending of awakening is never reconciliation and compounding, but thorough letting go and eternal transcendence. Memory can record all trivialities, but it can never make up for the lost sincerity and wasted years. I am my own eternity, no need for others' memory to accompany.